All right, everybody. We want to welcome to our show Josh Crossney, who is the founder and president of the Cannabis Science Conference. It's going to be coming to Portland in August. Thanks for joining us today, Josh.
Hey, Keith, thanks for having me on today. Great to be with you guys.
Hey, it's wonderful having you. Now, you guys have been doing this conference for a couple of years now. Tell us a little bit about why you do the conference and how long you've been doing it.
Yeah, so my background is in analytical science, staffing, and recruiting. So I used to find and place people in that industry. So either environmental, food safety, or pharma labs, or companies like instrument manufacturers, extractions, stuff like that. And then I just kind of saw a need for the advancement in cannabis science, and specifically with the testing and the need for standardization and testing. And that kind of led me to get more interested in the cannabis industry and kind of start figuring out where I might fit. And then we started our nonprofit organization, JCanna, which is devoted to the advancement of cannabis science. And that is what we do. We host the Cannabis Science Conference. And this will be our second annual Cannabis Science Conference. The first one that we did was actually in October, and we did that at the Red Lion on the River. And we had just about 800 people and 85 sponsor and exhibitor booths. So if you guys know the Red Lion, it's a great facility, but with numbers like that, you're kind of a little cramped. So we knew after that it was time to expand to a larger location. So we're really excited about our expansion this year to the Oregon Convention Center.
Right, and the Oregon Convention Center, that's a really nice location. It's right on the MAX lines. I mean, it's really easy to get to for visitors. And I'm really excited about it. I think, the 85 exhibitors at the Red Lion, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty tight. So we had the whole grand ballroom on the main level was our exhibit hall, and that was just packed with 10 by 10, some 10 by 20 exhibitor and sponsor booths. And then the lower level, the entire ballroom down there was our general session room that was set for about 450 people. And that was basically packed the entire time, which was kind of a great thing to see. I think a lot of shows, and I know that it's important to get a lot of content out at one time, but sometimes there's almost too many tracks going on at once. So we figured we'll start with one our first year. This year we're expanding. We're going to be doing two parallel tracks. One that will focus more on the analytical science topics, like extractions and testing for quality control and things like research in those fields, as well as hear from people that are running and operate laboratories. And then parallel to that, we'll have our medical cannabis track, which will be more about medical cannabis topics. You'll hear from medical cannabis doctors, cannabis nurses. You'll hear things like different routes of administration and things like that. So one thing that's really exciting in our medical track this year, we're doing an international medical cannabis updates panel. So we're going to have a representative from Australia, from Israel, from Canada, from Colombia, and from Puerto Rico, and they're all going to kind of sit on a panel and talk about what's going on, where they're at in the world with medical cannabis.
Wow, that's really great. So that's the focus of your conference obviously is on science, and you've broken it into two, sort of an analytical side and then the medical science side, which is really great. The international panel sounds really intriguing to me. There's so much going on now, and so much more outside of the United States, which is kind of a shame, that's really happening. So that's really great.
Oh, absolutely. And the gentleman from Australia that's going to sit on that panel, his name is Paul Maver, and he's a pharmacist based in Australia in Perth. And him and his wife actually were the first people just a couple weeks ago to import medical cannabis oil into Australia. So that was really exciting news, and they got a really lot of attention for that. And a lot of interviews and media press stuff. And then Dr. Deddy Miri, who is also one of our keynote speakers, will also sit on that panel. And he is the lead cannabis researcher for cancer at the Technion Institute in Israel. So he is a great, great individual. He's very, very well-versed in all things cannabis, science, and medicine and research. So we're really excited to have him back again this year as a keynote speaker.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. He's going to be one of the keynotes then. And, of course, Israel is leading the way in medical cannabis studies right now, really, above every other country, in my honest opinion.
Oh, absolutely. And there was just an announcement that came out, I think it's the Yahoo Finance as well as Forbes, that Technion Institute with Dr. Deddy Miri is partnering with groups in the States here. One of the groups is Cannabis, which is ran by a lady named Tracy Ryan that's based in California. And she has already partnered with Cure Pharmaceuticals, and they're going to be doing clinical trials and research here in the U.S. So that just came out last week. So that was really exciting news to hear. Some more research coming in our neck of the woods over here in the States.
Right, more the merrier for sure. I know Colorado it should be lauded for their support of research so recently, and even California has already got plans to start doing research with the tax money that they are just about to start be collecting from their recreational cannabis. So Oregon,
absolutely, and we're really excited to see that development and growth of science in the States, and we really we hope that we have been able to play, if anything, maybe just a small part in helping to advance these conversations and connect some of these people from all over the world.
Well, I'm kind of excited that you're having the conference here in Oregon, and I hope you extend some free admittance to some of the folks in Oregon, maybe at the Department of Health Services here and stuff that run our medical program to attend, so they might be able to learn something a little more than their narrow-mindedness. So, I mean, because we have run into some frustrations with some of the folks at the Oregon Health Authority, and it's not really the administrators as much as I think the medical side that cause issues. And I'd love to have some of their heads of their departments get to this show.
Oh, absolutely. That would be great, and we would love that. And we do a lot of like scholarships for patients, for veterans. We're also working on a minority scholarship program where we're working with a couple different groups to give free admission to some people. And one of the great things about our conference is it really is great educational, important content. But unlike a lot of shows, we set our price for the full access. So for both days of the conference, you can hear all the agenda. You can be in the exhibit hall, and you get to go to 2 mixers in the evening, both nights, for $199. For a lot of shows that have the level of content that we provide, and they give you 2 parties and things like that, you're paying $600, $700, $800 or more sometimes. So we really like to keep it affordable for people. They're not just like the advanced experts in science or medicine, but also for interested novices that just want to come and learn more about why something that they love and they use either as medicine or recreationally helps them deal with life the way that it does. Right.
Now so the conference is 2 days, and the $199 admission gets you into everything. It's really all inclusive. That's amazing. When are the mixers happening? Is that like Friday and Saturday night, or when is that going on?
So the mixers would be on the evening of the 29th and the 30th, and they would be after all the sessions are done. So on the 29th, the mixer will start at 6 p.m. and it'll run from 6 to 8. And that'll be sponsored by Shimatsu Scientific Instruments. They're also our title sponsor. And then on the 30th, that mixer will actually start a little bit earlier at 4 p.m. because the last day of the show you like to end the agenda a little bit earlier than 6 p.m. and then that way it leaves a little bit of time for a mixer. So that will be sponsored by 908 Devices, and that they are also a platinum sponsor of our show. So that will be hors d'oeuvres and alcoholic beverages that'll be provided by those sponsors.
Okay, excellent. That's really great. So there's an opportunity for people to connect up with folks that they saw and maybe neglected to follow up with at the show, hopefully, as well as meet other people they didn't have a chance of meeting yet, I guess. So that's really good.
Absolutely. And I think, one thing that sets us apart from some other shows is that some shows are either all about the business and some shows are all about like the medical or the scientific content. So we try to like bring those together a little bit with the robust exhibit floor and the really powerful agenda. So this year we're expected to have about 115 sponsors and exhibitors because we have a 60,000 square foot exhibit hall, and we're also going to have technical poster presentations throughout the exhibit hall. So some great people that are going to be putting some great information out in poster form, and they will, stand by their posters and explain the content to people that are kind of just passing through the exhibit floor. So we're excited to add that addition this year.
That's excellent. Now, you were taking submissions of like scientific presentations there. Did you get some pretty good submissions for this for the show?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we had over 300 submissions to speak at the conference this year. So that was definitely a process to go through and review all those submissions. And really, most of them were phenomenal. So it was really difficult, really trying to narrow down to like what we felt would be the best fit for what we were doing. But I think we ended up with a really great list of speakers. I mentioned Dr. Daddy is one of our keynote speakers. We also have Professor Jack Kenyon, that's a PhD and a genius in mass spectrometry and everything to do with chromatography. So he's one of our other scientific keynote speakers. And then our two medical keynote speakers will be Dr. Umadan Balan, who's a medical cannabis therapeutic specialist out of Boston, Massachusetts, is going to be one of our keynotes. And then Dr. Stu Sicily will be one of our other medical keynote speakers, who is a very well-known and very well-respected doctor, cannabis center doctor, who actually has a Schedule I research license, and he's been studying the effects of cannabis and PTSD veterans. So I think people will be really good to hear from both Dr. Stu and Dr. Uma. Yeah,
those are great to be lined up. I know Dr. Sicily especially has been in the news a lot lately with their PTSD research, and had been working with Johns Hopkins. I know that ended up falling to the wayside, but they're still pressing ahead on their research, and I think it's critical that we get that research done, especially on PTSD, which to me is one of the more evident, obvious uses for marijuana.
Oh, absolutely. But going to that, like, I think it's also a condition that you really want to have the science behind what kind of cannabis you're recommending to the people that are suffering from this. Because some of the things that cannabis can treat, it can also cause. So like dry mouth, panic. If you have severe PTSD, like maybe a super high sativa strain or whatever, that cannabinoid profile might not be best for you. It could exacerbate anxiety and things like that. For the opposite to someone who has an opposite condition where they might need that kind of effect to get them where they want to be. Right.
No, very much so. I love it. So now on the analytical side, you've got some presenters happening there. What are some of the focuses that you have? Will you be one of the things in Oregon, even though you're not really specific to Oregon, your conference, it's really a worldwide concept. But since we're here and it is Oregon, and one of the big things in cannabis right now is pesticide testing, are you going to be hitting on that at all?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have a few really great presentations regarding pesticides and other contaminant testing. One of our speakers, her name is Julie Kowalski, and she's a PhD. And she's not right in Portland. She's the head of the lab in Spokane, Washington, Trace Analytics, but still, Pacific Northwest, so she's still kind of in the region. But yeah, we have some really, really great people from some really great labs that'll be talking about some of the challenges that they faced in their lab. We'll have some great presentations on the need for standardization in cannabis testing, so that we won't continue to see you take one product to 6 different labs and you get 6 dramatically different results. So it's kind of a place where these laboratories are all working from the same book, essentially, and they're doing the same processes, so that you can kind of duplicate these results a little bit more.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a big deal, especially in Oregon, obviously, and trying to determine what is a standard test for the different cannabinoid levels, and because there's so many different variables going into doing the test and using this equipment.
And if you use a different type of instrumentation than someone else is using, you're bound to get different results. I mean, we don't even have the simplest, really, statewide, nationwide, global testing standards. So, I mean, you look at other industries, like even water and wastewater testing has standard methods that are used. So, regardless of what lab is testing for water or, wastewater, they're doing the same process. So, and, it's hard because a lot of these labs, they look at it as kind of a competitive edge, that like maybe they have a better way and they're doing it this way. And I think that in the future, the competitive edge is going to have to be, your work, what you guys do, like your turnaround time, like things like that. Instead of like, oh, this is our proprietary process, and we do it the best. But the thing is, like, the independent labs, like one lab is not going to hold up against the entire government. Once hopefully at some point, we want this to be regulated and legalized throughout the country. I think that's kind of what the goal is for this, and even on a global level. So once that happens, if we're not prepared and we don't have things together, they can kind of over-regulate. So the last thing we need is over-regulation. So I think the sooner we can kind of get on the same page with each other and show that, we have this down and, this is a, standardized testing market. And even with extractions, and that's why when you talk about this as a medicine and you talk about immunocompromised patients, it's very important that their medicine is contaminant free, and if something like that is missed in a testing process and then it's extracted, which most severely ill medical patients are using is some kind of extracted product. That's a whole other conversation, is the contaminant being extracted to its most purest form, and it's not just the cannabinoids having that happen. So it's a lot, and I feel like we could probably talk for hours and hours and hours just about different things, about testing, extractions, science, and even growing science. But hopefully, if this is interesting to the listeners, they'll come and check out the show. And I am by no means the top subject expert in any of this stuff. My goal is to bring the leading experts all over the world together to share their valuable information with each other.
Right. Well, that's the key here. We're not relying on you to be the expert, but we love the fact that you're gathering them all together in one place, and especially that they're going to be in Portland. That's even better. So we love that. Absolutely. So let's run through some of the specifics for people on this, and let's give them the dates and all the poop on it, so they know where to go and where to get the information.
Yeah, so it's the 2017 Cannabis Science Conference. It's going to be held at the Oregon Convention Center. The dates are going to be August 28th through 30th. The main conference will be on the 29th and 30th. On the 28th, we'll be doing our pre-conference workshops. We'll be hosting the second annual Cannabis Boot Camp at Talent Farms Airport location. And that is a full-day interactive hands-on workshop that's geared towards cultivation, extraction, testing, sample preparation, processing, and manufacturing.
Nice.
So that's kind of a whole day crash course on that. And we have our top level sponsors. They come in and they set up their instrumentation, and they really do like hands-on interactive demos, and it's done in like tours throughout the facility. So that was really great last year. We hosted about 80 people for that, and we bumped up the number a little bit this year, but that is selling out really quickly. And then parallel to that, on the same day, on the 28th, we're going to be having a Cannabis Nurses Network pre-conference workshop that's going to be called Making Endocannabinoid Connections. So this will be more of a medical focus, and it'll be some of the top cannabis nurses like Nurse Heather Manis and Nurse Joel B. and Nurse Marcy Cooper, who are top cannabis nurses in the industry, and they're really, really educated in the endocannabinoid system and other things. So that'll be a really fun interactive workshop as well. Just to note, those are both full day events. So it's kind of like if you're going to do the pre-conference, you have to pick one of those. But those tickets, as well as the conference tickets, can be found at www.cannabisscienceconference.com.
Okay, excellent. And wow, so you've got a whole third day really of stuff happening on the 28th before the conference. So that's really excellent.
Yeah, but that's just, like I said, separate ticket sales for those. And like I said, it's $199 for full access. It's $40 for exhibit only for the 29th and 30th. So if you just want to come and walk the exhibit floor and talk to the companies, the sponsors and supporters and the media companies, that's just $40 for that pass. And then your listeners, if they'd like to use promo code JCANNA25, which is EANNA 25 at checkout, that'll get them 25% off conference registration. And that doesn't apply to the boot camp pass. Just either full access or the exhibit only pass. Okay.
And the boot camp pass for the Friday events is how much?
That one is a little bit more because that is a training workshop that's really geared towards laboratory professionals and stuff like that. So that one is $399, and then the Cannabis Nurses Network course is $349.
Okay. So, but those are really more hands-on and a lot more close interaction with these experts than they would get at the seminar style presentations.
Yes, absolutely. So it's more of like training workshop where you'll really read and you'll feel like you gained a lot of information. So the one at the convention center, the Nurses Network course, that's really geared towards people that are interested in the medical field, so nurses, doctors, healthcare professionals, holistic coaches, stuff like that, as well as interested novices that are interested in learning more about the endocannabinoid system and different things that go along with that. And then I would say the boot camp is kind of geared a little bit more towards laboratory professionals. So,
Okay.
a lot of times you have these analytical chemistry experts that know this instrumentation like the back of their hand, but if they've not been introduced to the cannabis industry yet, they don't know the applications that are being used with cannabis. So it's a great way for them to come and kind of see like the instruments that they've known all this time, but what's actually being done with it on cannabis. So I think that's really interesting, and I think people would enjoy that. And so we would love to have your listeners, and we're excited to be working with you guys. I know that you guys will be there with OCC, and
Yeah, we will. We're excited to be participating, and it's going to be fun. I think one of the better shows around. I think it's just it's going to be real intriguing. I'm really interested in both the medical science side and the analytical extraction processing side. I think both are interesting. It's going to be hard for me to split up my time. I don't know which of those events I'd probably go to. Probably the medical one at this point. I've got a lot of interest in that right away. So
sure,
we'll see. We'll see what I decide.
Well, I think that's a good problem to have, right? Like it's like such great content, you don't know which way to turn.
Exactly. No, exactly it, man. I totally agree. So, all right. Well, Josh, thank you so much for being on our podcast on GodDab Radio, and we're excited to have you, and we're excited to go to your conference, and that's August 28th for the pre-conference stuff, and 29th and 30th coming up just a couple months away.
Absolutely, and it was really great joining you guys today, and I'm excited to see you guys in Portland at the Cannabis Science Conference. And if anyone is interested, we do still have very limited exhibitor space left. So if anyone's interested in exhibiting, you can reach out to me at josh@jcanna.com.
Excellent, perfect. That'll work great. All right, Josh, thanks a lot. We got a lot of stuff going on in Oregon this year, and we're glad that your science conference is part of all the events.
Absolutely.